welcome to the Rake.
Sorry. He's also said on this, our futon is getting more ghetto every minute, but okay, go on.
We're here with a solo episode for you guys. Some talk about downswings. I'm personally in a big downswing myself, and of course, Phil had a rough start to the challenge. We thought we'd kick off this pod by talking about that and some tweets he put out and, you know, how he's coping with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing in poker. When you start to go pro, you're not like, I'll probably be in this like downward spiral at least a few times in my career. Yeah. Nobody really thinks about it or plans for it, but I feel like I've been through that cycle multiple times now where you just feel like you absolutely cannot win a hand no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. And I feel like we were just talking about how, you know, we obviously only probably play part-time. We have other income, we have balance and other things going on. And it's so nice to, when you just feel like the universe hates you, to just be like, okay, I can actually just like take a week off and actually like make money doing something else, or even like have creative fulfillment, have like validation that I'm not a complete like lost cause.
Yeah.
And then even just like working out, obviously Mikey D talked about that last week, but yeah, I mean, it's really hard to get out of that cycle, especially when you feel like you have to play. And obviously Phil is in a unique situation, which he talked about on Twitter, where he can't just
like take a month off. Yeah. He's made promises to his opponents. And after this challenge is over, which I think it's about 1/3 of the way done, I think he's going to hop right into some other ones. So this isn't a thing where you can go, okay, I'm going to take a mental health month, hang out with Spencer, chill out, and just like get over it. I think every day that he plays, he has to just have a little pep talk and be like, new day, it's a new day, let's get in there.
Yeah, I mean, and he talked about some, you know, gave some advice about how he copes with it. And we were just talking about how we cope with downswing, so we thought we'd give some hot tips.
Yeah, what are your hot tips?
Hot tips for me. Number one for me is always actually moving down for at least a session or two. And, you know, I think it just builds confidence. Like we were saying, it feels like somehow you're losing less, even though it's not really true. But, yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I just think that like it's not, people don't do it enough. And of course, it always kind of like, especially when it's live poker and you're not hiding behind your, you know, the anonymity of your computer. When you walk into a poker room when you've been playing 5-10 every day, and then they see you walk in. And I think that there is a little bit of that, like, I can't play 2-5 or whatever, even if you're like rolled for 5-10 or bigger, and you maybe even play 1-3. And so, but you feel like, oh man, like
everyone's going to talk shit.
Yeah. And I think that it's like something that's really not talked about in poker. And a lot of people have those feelings, and it's, you know, it's like this like shame thing, this ego thing. But for me, it always helps. And I just feel, I don't know. I feel like much better afterwards.
Yeah, I feel like it's good to jump around stakes a little bit sometimes anyway. Like say that you're not in a downswing, you are rolled to play bigger, but the 5-10 game sucks. Yeah. It's just a bad game. Like jump down to 2-5, and then the times that you are jumping down to 2-5 because you're broke or you're like stuck this week or whatever it is, it won't feel as weird. Maybe people won't even talk about it if you're known to be like, oh, you're just like game selecting really well. Yeah.
And I feel like I hear a lot of people who like to title themselves if I play X stake.
Yeah.
And they love to, and one of the questions I get asked a lot is the first question, what stakes do you play? What stake do you play? And I literally always say, I play everything. I play 1-3 all the time, 2-5, 5-10, nosebleeds. Like I jump around tournaments, and you know, that's the truth. And I think that, you know, people, once they have deemed themselves, oh, I'm a 10-20 player,
they don't ever want to move.
They don't dip down.
Yeah.
And getting attached to that like label or thing, it's just never, I don't feel like, I think it's pretty rare in poker that someone rises up the ranks and then never dips down for even a week.
Also,
you know?
It's just like, that's going to cost you money in your poker life. So yeah, your ego might feel good. You won't like, I don't know, you won't take that hit of like, oh, hearing someone whisper like, is she broke? She's like playing 2-5. I was like, yeah, that would hurt to like hear, and it would suck to have to defend yourself, but also you just don't have to defend yourself. Like, who cares? It's your own thing. It's your money. And like, it's nobody else's business. So
and
it's
I think that the regs who matter and the people you care about see that, and they're like, oh, she's like got it together, she's gonna stand the test. Like, when I see stuff like that, I now look at it and be like, oh, that person's gonna stand the test of time, because they know how to.
Yeah, they'd rather be actually making money than appear to be making money.
Yeah, for appearances or to be insane.
Yep.
One of the other things Phil talked about was recognizing emotions in game and why you're making decisions, and kind of like slowing down and taking the extra second before every decision to be like, where's this coming from? Which obviously is easier said than done.
Yeah, that's good advice though. I think a lot of things we even talk about is like changes you can make physically or whatever, and like or how you're going to spend your time or something like that when you're in a downswing. But he's actually saying, like, as you're playing, just change your thinking. Like, you don't have to make some massive change, you don't have to move down in stakes, you don't have to take days off. Like, just slow down and be like, what is the reason? Why do I want to gamble so hard right now? Is it because I'm stuck $1,000 and it'll make me feel good to gamble it in and see if I can get it back? And it's like, well, those are like minus EV decisions that are just emotional. And if you could avoid making those, like, maybe you just like, maybe you're not supposed to win that session. Like, you're going to lose some sessions. Maybe that session you lose less because you recognize that you're just trying to gamble to like get even.
Yeah, which everyone does, Sometimes what I'll do is, if this is happening to me, I try to like really zoom out and say, okay, I'm just going to play this hand perfectly. And then the next one, this hand perfectly. Like, whatever, I get 9-4 off under the gun, I fold. Okay, I played that hand perfectly. You played that hand perfectly.
Great job.
Next one, play it not perfect, but like do your best.
Yeah.
Not perfectly is the wrong thing, because it's holding. No one plays perfectly, but do my best in this hand, and not think about the overarching whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What else? Working out, we were talking about.
Working out, yeah. I think even just like going on one run, and just it changes your emotional state. It's crazy. I should really do it a lot more. It's good for you. And also, there's no time I got back from a run and I was like, I really regret that.
Yeah.
Like, ever. It sucks for the like half an hour you're doing it. And then you're done and you're just like, oh, cool. It's like my brain's full of awesome chemicals. I feel good. I feel like I've changed the whole like trajectory of the day. Like, if you had a horrible losing session, you're going to be pissed off the rest of the night. And then you work out and you're just like not pissed off anymore. I'm like, that's amazing. Why don't we do this more often?
Totally. I mean, just, plus, look a little sexier. Can never hurt. Can never hurt at the tables.
Yeah. And Crouton's into it. He's just like, sweet, we go running. Yeah. He's like hoping I lose and I bust and I come home and he's like, sweet.
Also, Elliot Roe, longtime poker coach. What is his official title? Life coach, but specializing in poker.
It's weird because I feel like life coach has like some kind of negative connotation now, because people are like, everybody who's like, hey, I think I can just like give people advice, I'll be a life coach. And it's like usually no credentials or whatever. But I don't know what his exact title is. I know that he has schooling behind him and that he's been doing this forever. He's helped. I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit when we had Scott Blumstein on, but he was like so important. He was a crucial part of our little preparation team, because there were days that Scott would bag up for the tournament and just be a mess because there's so much pressure. The main event, he's like day 7 or something, and like he's a mess. He's been thinking about like being under the microscope all day. People are saying stuff on Twitter like, oh, did you see that hand, blah, 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 like huge blow up. Everything, just all this outside bullshit that you never deal with when you're just a poker player who like grinds online or whatever. So there was just so much stuff in his head that like he didn't ever have to deal with before, and it was like completely overwhelming. I hooked him up with Elliot Roe, and they maybe did 3 or 4 sessions over the course of like the end of the tournament when there was like maybe 20 people left. He would come downstairs from a session with Elliot completely different than he had been like earlier in the morning, where he's like bogged down by a bunch of stuff and he's like super stressed. And he'd come down and be like, awesome, I'm still in it, I'm ready to start the day, let's go, you guys ready to go? And like we'd all go drive over there, and I was like, holy shit. Like, it was just amazing what just like venting out his feelings and like getting good advice from a guy who like doesn't just know like how to put the people through therapy, but specifically poker players. It was like he understood exactly what needed to be said and like what kind of mindset he needed to be in.
Yeah, and you've done a session with Elliot. How long ago was it now?
That's a long time ago. This is like before he was unaffordable to me. Because because I think he was like somewhat new in the poker space. He'd worked with like UFC athletes and other people, but Jen Shahadi, one of my best friends, she got me a session for my birthday with him, and I was always like very resistant to therapy and stuff like that. I don't know what it is, but I just felt like I was like, oh, I don't think that will help me. Like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to do visualizations and all this like meditating. And I was so stupid. All that stuff is good. Yeah. But
you have to find the right quote unquote therapist. I think it's all about, I mean, I also feel that way, but I think that when you just you find the right fit, it's like magic. It's like the best thing that could ever happen to you. But sifting through sometimes like the riffraff.
Yeah, I'm just so incredulous for certain things that, like, but I'm stupid because I have done some meditation and stuff, and I'm like, I feel great. They weren't lying. It's not some like bullshit. And so it was really great to do a session with him because it opened my eyes to like how helpful mindset coaches can be. We basically, I thought it was going to be very general. I thought I was going to have a session with him. He'd be like making me feel better and like visualize success and all this stuff, whatever. Instead, he like dissected my poker career, and I was like, holy shit. He was saying like, are you happy with like the stage of like your poker career that you're in? Is this the stakes that you were planning to be playing? Like, what are your goals? We went through all that. And then he opened my eyes to basically, the path that I was taking was like not going to be profitable enough. I wasn't playing big enough. I wasn't playing enough volume to actually like hit the goals that I had imagined for myself. And he also opened my eyes to the fact that like I wasn't working hard enough, and that like if I want to be a pure poker player with nothing else going on, I have to act more like his other clients, which I mean, they were doing a ton of work. And so he didn't sugarcoat it. He wasn't just like, I'm going to feed you a bunch of bullshit. You're going to leave the session and feel like you could take on the world. Like, it wasn't like that at all. I left being like, I have to reevaluate a lot of the things that I was doing. And that is just hugely valuable because I really do think I like made a lot of choices after that weren't, that were very different from what I would have done. Like, and I got more into other things like that make me really happy, like creative projects. And I've found ways to make money in doing things that are like more personally satisfying to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, having some, like, I really appreciate somebody who will give me the tough love or like the tough truth and not just kind of live in like the Tony Robbins. When I think of therapists, I think of like Tony Robbins being, I know, like,
it's like why I resisted
you can do it or something, like, and they're just, which I don't think is no value to that, but I want to hear the actual like nuts and bolts of, you know, what I need to do, and like breaking it down like that, and just puts in perspective for everybody, just hearing like, hey, well, like if you want to get to point B, like this is like what you need to do. And then you start thinking about that, like you're just saying, and I actually like don't care to study PIO 8 hours a day. I don't care to like
right. It's like
be insane.
Just putting that question out there. Like he wasn't Elliot was not like, definitely you want to be an elite poker player and we're going to get you there. He like asked me a million questions and listened first, and then it was like, do you want to be this type of person? Like, do you want to be tunnel vision to this, or do you want to have a more well-rounded life? We talked about a bunch of stuff, and like I left that call, which it was supposed to be an hour. He gave me like 90 minutes because he's awesome, and he just was like into our conversation and stuff. And I left that being like, I have so much to think about, and that's a really good thing. I didn't think therapy was going to be like that. I thought it was going to be someone's going to attempt to solve all my problems, and then I would leave it feeling good, like superficially.
Yeah, I mean, it's also good to be like a super specialist in poker too, because if you were to just talk about this stuff with like a therapist, they'd be like,
mine would probably be, do you have a gambling problem?
Yeah. Let's take it back. I think that the problem here lies in the fact, okay, we have our whole bankroll on the table. It's 4 a.m. This is a breaking point here.
Yeah.
Like we need to, we need to reevaluate counting cards or something. But yeah, so it sounds like Phil's been doing some sessions, and also you know, Elliot has a course on Run It Once. If you guys want to check that out, kind of like a intro.
Yeah, it's a game masterclass, and I think they'll probably put the link in maybe the tweet or something. But I think it has to be valuable. I was like very impressed with him, and I think if you want to be an elite poker player, that's the spot to spend some money. Like, it's not all solvers and all like videos for getting better at poker. Actually, like I think sometimes like some kind of therapy session, some kind of mindset coaching might be the push you need to like make you want to study more, make you more efficient with your time, and or make you realize that this isn't going to make you happy.
Yeah, you know? And actually what it takes and everything, all the above.
Yeah. We put Crouton to sleep.
Personal side note, my little Chauncey, we've talked about him many times, but he is very, very ill. He's an outdoor cat, and he is a hunter. Doesn't know that he's only a 13-pound cat, and he seems to have gotten into kind of like a scuffle with a larger animal, and he has a big injury on his leg. It's just not progressing well, and he's had to be taken into the 24-hour care of the vet. So keep him in your prayers.
Yeah. So if you're wondering why we're like Marle and Jamie minus right now, we were having a little powwow before this talking about Chauncey, and it's not going great.
I know.
So we could use some comments, like get well soon Chauncey comments. And if you don't mind putting the picture, because the picture is so cute and made me want to cry, of Chauncey with the giant cone of shame and the little like leg cast looking thing.
He's got a little cast, and he's limping, and he's all dopey from the meds, and it's going to be like a 2-month recovery for him. So keep him in your prayers, and also keep me in your prayers as I struggle through this downswing.
Yeah, and if the vet is listening, give Chauncey the good drugs.
Exactly. I was on the phone just now, and I was like, but the pain meds, right? You get the pain meds. The pain meds.
You're a good mom.
I was like, more meds, right? I was like, what do you got?
Like, whoa.
Yeah, I was getting him some pet CBD too, to try to
chill him out.
Mellow out. She's like, that's not really gonna do much for him. He's got like no leg. And I was like, I know. On that note,
we'll take a little break.
Short break.
Now seems like a good time to give a shout out to our sponsor, Run It Once Poker. They just launched a pretty cool new rewards program called Legends. Every week, you can earn cash rewards that are applied directly to your account. Plus, they still have their popular Splash the Pot feature, which takes some of the rake and throws it right back on the table. With these two features combined, you can get up to 75% total rake back.
If you sign up now through once.run/play, you'll receive a 100% first deposit bonus of up to €600. And a big thank you to our other sponsor, Run It Once Training, the best place to learn from players much better than us. If you sign up through once.run/learn, you'll get free access to 3 of their elite videos, so go check it out. Welcome back. So we wanted to talk about our couch.
Yeah.
We are starting a GoFundMe. And if you would like to donate to get us a new couch fund,
I agree.
need it.
This is the most pressing problem in the world. Like, you look at GoFundMe and there's people who have cancer. There's people who are really like, they're homeless, but the futon in this podcast trumps all of those.
Yeah.
Do you agree? I mean, this is just.
If you guys saw the camera we had to use, you guys would be starting a charity in our name. Just kidding. No, we have actually a pretty good setup here, but the couch, we are shopping.
We'll get a new couch at some point. The problem is, the like super nice looking like leather, or let's be honest here, we're not rich enough, pleather couches. I don't know if Crouton will be as comfortable. And like, what if we get a very nice couch and the setup looks great, but then Crouton doesn't want to be part of the podcast anymore? I feel like that is not a risk I'm willing to take.
Yep.
So we'll see.
It's all about the babies.
Yeah.
So what was our first topic? I'm drawing a blank right now. Sorry.
You were talking about earlier, like, and you tweeted about an aha moment you had in poker.
Yes.
Was it during the Mike Del Vecchio pod that you were like, oh, wait, I should just keep barreling when I turn equity?
No, it was a joke that I just learned.
Okay. Yeah. This is what I'm telling you. I'm like, you're very balanced, where I was just like, I'm pretty sure people are responding to it seriously.
Well, they were, and that's what's funny about it. And like, I just like, I could have made it like so fucking obvious and been like, oh, you can't fold when you can't win when you fold or whatever. Like, but I like to keep it like, I mean, like whatever. But that actually was my aha moment, but it was years ago. So I put this tweet where I said, for those of you who don't know, what was your biggest aha moment in poker? Mine was learning that you should bluff when you turn equity. Yesterday was a great day. I did not learn that yesterday. I learned that when I first started playing full time, I was staked, and I was already like, I already knew kind of like the basic fundamentals ish, but like I just had no idea like how to pick my bluffs, or like the concept that like I would just kind of bluff when like I felt like they didn't have anything or whatever. I just had no rhyme or reason. Then he was like, no, like choose the hands that like when you turn equity, then you continue to bluff. Like those are the hands. And then when you don't, you can give up. And I was like, and it was like, I mean, obviously like I'd like to think that, you know, I'm always trying to learn. I think we all are. And obviously even now, like all the time I learn things and I hear things and I'm like, oh my God, that's what it's like life changing. But that was really the biggest thing I can remember and the biggest aha moment of like, oh my God, bluff with equity. And it was like blowing my fucking mind.
I can only imagine like baby Marles in poker without those rules. I can't imagine you ever not bluffing. I feel like you're just like, I don't have anything. I need to put more money in. And then you're like, I still don't have anything. More money.
If you saw me like early Marle's Vegas days, it's funny because one of Spraggy's best friends from like childhood is also like a beast online player. And he told him like, oh yeah, I played with Marle once years ago in Vegas. She was like very aggressive. And I was like, oh God, Spraggy, you don't even know. You think I'm bad now? Like I used to just blast. And like I
used to just have very many favorite hands.
Yes.
That was my thing. That was my biggest leak when I was like a baby poker player where I was just like, oh yeah, like I always play this hand, 8-3 suited. I won a pot with this one, so I'll play this hand. Like I just had many of those. And now people say it as a joke when there's like, oh yeah, when they like show down a really shitty hand, like, oh, favorite hand, like whatever. And I'm like, no, I really did used to believe in that.
Totally. And you have one too. That was your biggest.
Oh yeah, this is like an embarrassing aha moment, but I feel like I used to, when I was like pretty new to poker, would be very straightforward. Like I would play way too many hands pre-flop because it was fun. And I'm like, oh, I didn't come here to fold. I was one of those people. But I would play so straightforward. I'd be like, I raise. Oh, darn it, I missed the flop. Like, I'm done. Like, check. And then at some point I started reading like so many poker books. I read like 6 of them in a couple weeks. And I was like obsessed with poker. And I read Gus Hansen's Every Hand Revealed. And it was amazing because like clearly he never ran into any big hands that his opponents had. But he just was always betting. He's just always c-betting. Like it didn't matter. It's like you raise king, queen of diamonds. The flop comes out like 8, 7, 6 all spades, and he would get checked to and he'd just bet, and he would just always bet. And I was like, oh my God, like wait a second, I don't have anything, but no one ever has anything. And it was just this stupid thing where I'm like, I just started playing a lot better because at that time, like, you know, if you're decent, if you're playing like good starting hands and playing ABC poker, you're probably winning a little, even if you have no strategy besides that. So then I now have this thing where I'm like, okay, other people are going to fold too much and I'll just keep betting a lot. And at that point, that was like very valuable, like probably very obvious information. But to me, that was like an aha moment.
Yeah. And I don't know, sometimes it's like the way you hear it or the person that tells you, but you know, those moments are precious. And so, yeah, I think that obviously I think a lot of what I do is like gray area, but a lot of people did. I just sneeze.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you. A lot of people responded to it. You know, and it was serious. I was just joking, like, you know, about the timetable, but did respond. A lot of people responded with their moment, and Kevin Rabachow, I'm butchering his last name, Run It Once coach, responded with actually I want to bring it up, but there's some news about him. Yeah. He's
the first Run It Once ambassador for the not just the training site. He's for the Real Money Poker site, which is pretty cool. And cool because it's Run It Once's first birthday today. So that's a nice big announcement to go with that.
Woo! Sorry. Oh, here it is. So yeah, he responded to mine. He said, the one I remember best when I was a bit stuck in theory and failing to exploit, just because their range is uncapped doesn't mean they call you often enough, which I had to read that about 4 times.
Me too.
Right now, it takes me like a second to go through I have to like break it down into chunks, and I'm like, the one I remember best was when I was stuck in theory. And then I like, but I actually just watched one of his brand new videos on Run It Once where he broke down a few hands from like a tournament online and did a really good job of like node locking Pio for, you know, what he thinks population tendencies are on exploits, and then how, you know, what the actual GTO is, and like seeing like if he basically is deviating too far. So I really like his stuff. I think he's definitely an exploitative centric player, and excited to see him as an ambassador. We aren't sure exactly what his duties will be. We'll know more in the coming weeks, and we have gotten loose confirmation that he'll be joining us at some point soon. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So then we'll just have to let him know that he needs to talk slowly and use smaller words or say things 4 times so that we can understand them.
Exactly. Exactly. And we can ask him his biggest punt, and he's going to be like, I rolled a 99.
That was an underrated pod with Chris Kruk, if you guys missed it. He's just subtly very funny.
We need to have him in person for like a full on like hour-long discussion. That really didn't do him justice, just hearing about his hand and stuff. So we'll bring that to you guys soon.
Yeah, maybe in the summer. He's hard to get a hold of in the summer, though, because he's playing in Bobby's room and just complete ridiculous stakes, like 1K, 2K, mixed games and stuff.
Oh, I didn't know he played mixed.
Oh, yeah. That's like his specialty. So in the summer, it's tough. Like I'll hang out with him once in a while when he's like at the end of like a 16-hour session or something, just grab food real quick. But yeah, he's one of those guys that like their time is so valuable in the summer. It's like, it's the only time of year like you can't pull them away from anything. But speaking of nosebleeds, for those of you following the Galfond challenge, today was like the good day finally, that we've been every day been like, okay, Phil, like just even variance alone, you'd think they would have thrown him a bone one day. But his chart was always like, he's pretty much like minus 100K more than he should have been. And then finally today, he ran decent and won 87K euro. So a good, not like the $2,000 day.
Yeah, a dent.
Yeah, it actually does make a dent. I think it's around 400 now.
Yeah, definitely. 20% gone.
Yeah.
Solid. And, just momentum, confidence, those things matter.
For sure.
And it happened the day after he wrote all those tweets. So I'm not saying it's related, but maybe it is.
I mean, he's giving himself every chance to go in with a clear head and not be depressed about it and not have to like explain himself. I feel like those tweets, they're serving him well in just silencing the people who want to talk shit. And also just like the people who are like, oh, are you gonna quit? Are you gonna quit? Like it's in the chat every single time. Like at what point, like how much you have to be down before you quit? And he's not thinking of quitting. He's like thinking of winning. And I think those tweets are really good for him, just to like silence the people, or, like give people a response that like, hey, here's what I'm thinking right now. I'm not thinking of quitting. I'm just like making sure that I'm not making emotional decisions and trying my best.
Yeah. And he even said like, normally I would even break it down further and tell you exactly what I'm going to do or what my process is. But because obviously he's still in game, he can't give away too much. But it seems like he's done that equity graph thing too that I learned about last time.
Yeah.
That I'm never going to do because then I realize I'm never going to do that.
I think the next time you visit Spraggy, I think that you should probably just like bank a bunch of hands online and actually look at stuff like that. Like use Hold'em Manager or whatever he uses, Poker Tracker or whatever. And just not even just for the like graph that will tell you if you've run bad or good or whatever. Just to see like if you get thousands of hands, to see if there's any like glaring errors you're making. It could be worth so much when you're playing like Nosebleed live cash when you come back.
Definitely, guys, watch out for Marles. When European Marles is going to be crushing fools, crushing.
Yeah.
And high stakes poker is back.
Yes, that's it. I'm super pumped about that. I knew there was one more thing we wanted to talk about, and I was like hype about it today. That was the most fun show. Every time you ask people like, what old show would you bring back? It was always either high stakes poker or the big game. Did you watch the big game either? The one with the loose cannon?
Not as much as high stakes.
It was sweet. You should look up all the episodes of that too, where they would just have a regular guy. They'd have someone, a normal person who would have won the seat and be playing for 100K. Yeah. So that was sweet. But high stakes poker didn't need any bells and whistles. They just had really interesting characters. Like it would be like Sammy Farha, Doyle Brunson, Antonio Esfandiari. All of them, it was like watching a massively high stakes home game. Yeah. And Gabe Kaplan was also the GOAT. I liked his style of commentary. And then I had forgotten until we like looked it up just now that Norm Macdonald was doing commentary. So now I have to go look for old episodes.
GOAT. Yeah, it was an epic show. For me, the Bricks of Cash is everything. Cash, the only casino in Vegas that still plays cash is Golden Nugget. So it is, I don't know what the exact law is in Nevada, but it seems
I guess
that
it's legal then if they're having it somewhere else.
Golden Nugget's so badass though. Maybe it's just illegal and they're just like,
they don't care.
We're fucking Golden Nugget. We're whatever, man. We're
exactly. They're like, we gave up a long time ago. Sure, send the feds in.
Yeah,
who cares?
Exactly.
It'll be the most customers we've had through these doors if you send in the FBI.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm interested to see like who's going to be commentating it, who's going to be playing in it. If they get only the like old school big name guys, I would love to have Norm Macdonald commentate that.
Yeah, it would be so
just for lulz, if nothing else. But it'll be on Poker Go. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah,
so Poker Go's having it. I don't know, and it's cool. There's been a big call for different types of content. So live streams have become super popular, and for diehard poker players and like really serious poker fans, I think live streams where it's at. You just want to see every single thing. You don't want to cut it to just like the big pots. You want to see how people actually play, if they fold too much, if they're all even the boring decisions. But for like the more casual recreational players and people who just don't have 12 hours to sit in front of a stream, people with kids, with jobs, whatever, high stakes poker was awesome.
Yeah.
Because they'd show you like 10 amazing hands in a night. And that's it.
That's what people want to see. And they want to see people who gamble. And they want to, I hope that they control the lineup and kind of keep that kind of old, I don't know even the word would be like old cowboy, like Wild West, like everyone just, you never know when someone's gonna blow up kind of like attitude.
I hope that's like the main thing for me, is that I hope they allow the table talk like they used to, because that's what made it compelling, is that like there were people shit talking in the middle of like 500k pots. There's a hand that like sticks out in my mind. It was I'm gonna mess it up now, Jamie Gold and Farha, and it was like, I think Jamie Gold had kings and Farah had aces, and they went back and forth and they raised each other like a million times, and they both were like begging each other not to put more money in the pot. It was the weirdest hand of all time.
So
and like
funny.
I couldn't even tell like what each guy was going for, because I was like, if I were either of them, I'd think I have the best hand. But they're just like, okay, I'm gonna put in 100k, but that's it, and don't raise me. And it was just like the most table talk ever for like $1 million pot. Just they're so crazy people.
That's amazing. I hope that like, I mean, it would never happen, but yeah, I hope that they only have people like that.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the landscape has changed so much in poker that I feel like it's tough to replicate exactly that. I hope people don't like get let down by the fact that like it probably is going to be really hard to like people aren't throwing around millions of dollars anymore just for fun. And, like back then they were, because like some of them were sponsored by Full Tilt, and they're like, oh, whatever, I'll just get my next million next month. Yeah.
And it's I forgot what I was going to say. But, I mean, back then that was like a legitimate strategy, is like, oh, I'm going to like use I'm going to use wordplay to, that's my strategy. That's like what's your strategy going in? Wordplay. I'm really going to, lay it on thick and see how he reacts.
I mean, that's amazing. Can you imagine a hand history from like, what would it be, like 12 years ago? Yeah. And I'm just like, hey, Marle, how'd that hand go? And you're like, well, first I told him I didn't have it. Then on the turn I said I did have it, and he didn't even know what to think.
It's like, but that was, I mean, that was legit. That actually would happen.
Yeah. It was a huge factor in hands, like how people looked and how they were talking, how fast or slow they played, because like, the rest of the strategy wasn't quite there yet. So someone who was just good at reading people probably could have cleaned up back then. But now it's like, yeah, that factors into live poker, but it's such a smaller part.
And people that can afford to play those kind of stakes, by and large, are going to probably be, you have to take it seriously because you have to take it seriously. Yep. So excited to see what unfolds there. Yeah. And that's it for us.
I think that's it for us today. Marley's got to go to the vet and take care of her cat. And I don't know. Sorry if we were downers today. It was a bit of a bummer. And just pray for Chauncey.
Pray for Chauncey. And we love you guys. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.